Hey guys, hope we're all well. So finally I've got around to making a video of the pedal board that I use for bass covers of Raw Blood songs and for general gigging purposes as well. Been a long time coming, but life gets in the way and of course gigs do as well. And this has been literally the first window I've had a chance to set everything up, plug it all in and do this properly so we can demonstrate how I do various sounds. For you guys to emulate in your own time at home and for shows I imagine as well. So this is a video of that. Check it out. Okay, so this is the pedal board that I currently use for gigs, and as you can see it's a little bit of a mess with cables everywhere and of course stuff off the board as well. Everything has its purpose, and obviously I'll show you what everything does on the board for the rig that I use. So obviously from the bass we go into the Boss TU2 for tuning, of course, but also for splitting the signal. My rig runs as the 2-channel setup. From the 2 ports on the output here, where you've got the output and the bypass, output is the bass channel. And from here, it runs into the Boss OC3, which just gives me my sort of my sub bass sounds and dubstep stuff. And yeah, cool for that. And then from this, it goes into the bottom Pog 2 here. I use this kind of like as a multi-effect for bass. So I've got some pretty much on every preset here. The most used one generally is the top one, which is a sub-octave with the normal bass sound. Great for just fattening it out on certain songs where it needs to be big, etc. Next setting I think is just like the sub-octave on its own. The next setting is a octave above the sound. Chorus, another chorus. This setting is a chorus again. Lots of chorus. The next setting is like a boost from my rig. So if I ever need to do a solo, which is very rare, but if it does come up, just gives me a little bit of a boost on the signal, just to get above the sound of the band. So that's for that. And then the bottom one is just an octave up on its own. Nice silly sound. So that's what I kind of use this pedal for that. And then from here, it goes into the Boss Overdrive, the ODB3. This is of course a love-hate relationship pedal, which you either like it or you want to throw it. Normally with this pedal, I use it in conjunction with the second channel or the Big Muff, and I'll show you what that does in a bit. And then from this pedal, it goes into the Soundsamp bass driver over there, which again splits to my bass amp on stage, which is normally an Ampeg SVT Pro 6, and then also to the PA via the DI. So that's the bass channel of the rig. So now moving on to the second channel. So the way I split the signal is from the Boss TU2, and the second channel runs out of the bypass output of the tuner into the LS2. And what the LS2 generally does is work as just as an on-off switch, as you can see here. So if I want to bring in a bass effect, which could be a synth sound or the Raw Blood sound that I use, this is the pedal I will kick on for that. So for example, so with this setup, what's really cool is I can switch off one channel or have both channels on at the same time. So obviously when the tuner is not muted, that's the bass channel. And then if I hit the LS2 on, that turns on the other effect. But of course we have both channels running at the same time, so effectively making it sound like a bass and a guitar playing at the same time. But if I just want the guitar sound, I can have this on and then just simply mute the tuner. Which is really cool, and that's just because the bypass on the tuner doesn't mute when you press the pedal, so you can still tune while it's on, but we'll still have that running. So yeah, that can be cool for just doing guitar breaks or just having a certain bass effect running before the main rig kicks back in again. Right, so from the LS2 we run into the Boss Synthesizer SYB3 pedal, and there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with this pedal. So sometimes I can use it for a whole manner of different songs, other times it might be for one thing and one thing only. So at the moment it's set to an auto wah sound. Yeah, so if I need that sound, that's normally good for that. And then from that, it runs into the Digitech Bass Synth Wah, which is probably the best 30-40 quid anyone can spend on a pedal if you want to make a noise with your rig. So that's what that does. Normally left on one sound and one sound only, and that's currently what it's set to. And then from that we run into the Pog 2, and this generally is the pedal I use for getting the octave sound, and of course it's the same pedals that they use for the Royal Blood live setup as well, but of course it's two of them wide in stereo, so you get the left and the right guitar sound at the same time. So that's what I normally just use that for. I do have stuff on the other settings, but I generally don't tend to use them too much for gigging with. Because this used to be on my guitar pedal board, so this has all sort of volume swell sounds on it and octave stuff and choruses, etc. So from here, it runs into the Boss PS6 Harmonix pedal. And I use this pedal to create power chords with the fake guitar sound, as it normally sounds with the pedal engaged. Puts that fifth note within the mix, so it just thickens out the sound, and it's absolutely amazing for when you're playing in three-piece setup. When the guitarist goes for a solo, suddenly it all hollows out from when the chords were being played, and of course this will fill in the gap from where the guitarist has left that part of the frequency spectrum. And yeah, it sounds really, really cool for that. So that's obviously without it. So yeah, that's quality for that, where the guitarist will be doing a solo, and that just helps fill in the blank space that's been left from the absence of chords. And then from the Harmonix we go to the Big Muff Pi over here. And I just use this if I want to make the sound a bit more filthier. I tend to also use this with the more synthy pedals as well, just to make them a bit more dirtier, as you do. Alright, cool. Okay, so from the Big Muff, I normally go to the guitar amp, which up until recently was just a little Fender Mustang 1 amp. Did the job perfectly, but of course, as always, it's more sounds on stage if you've got more speakers. So to help minimise on all the spill that used to be there, is I've now switched over to a preamp, which is the Sounds Amp PSA 1.1. And the reason I've got it is because it's a Sounds Amp and I generally love the stuff they make. And it's got the preset facility on it, so you can save different tones on it and all that. And also the MIDI capabilities, which is something that I'm very much interested in in regards to the next rig that I want to do. So I bought that for quite a few features that I've just mentioned there, and generally that does right. For the, we'll take all the effects off and turn the bass off. You can hear it's set to just a slight crunchy overdrive. And depending on certain songs, I might switch it out just to clean it up so that the synths come through in a slightly different way. Now, what I have found on certain shows and different venues, etc., is ground loops, which are just an absolute nightmare, and even worse when you start using 2 channels or 2 rigs as part of your sound. So I've had to buy this hum eliminator down here to cut out some of that ground sound, and even in the house there is ground loops, and this just cures that problem straight off the bat. So if you're thinking about doing a 2 amp setup and using it as a regular sort of thing, I'd probably advise getting some sort of hum eliminator, even if it's not ever used for every single show, but just for preparation, just in case it is needed. So just quickly to just summarise, so all the rig that you've been hearing today has been recorded to an Allen & Heath QU16 desk straight to the hard drive that I've got plugged into it. So I'm just going to run you through some sounds that we can potentially do with the board with the 2 channels. I could literally have everything off the second channel and just use the grittiness of the overdrive crunch sound on the Sounds amp. Yeah, so something else I like doing is putting on the Boss overdrive and the Big Muff just to make a massive trashy bass sound. So something else I like doing is mixing the various different octaves up into the sound. So one of the probably common ones I would do would be to have the sub octave on the Pog here, and then have the fake guitar running at the top there. Then of course you can put that into the mix. So the future plan with this rig is to rack mount the lot of it, and just basically just to tidy up on stage and just keep everything at the back. So I've already bought sort of the parts I want to use to do the rig, and of course it's all going to be MIDI, hence why I also bought the Sounds amp PSA, so that I can control it via that. So that concludes the video for today. So thank you very much for watching. If you've got anything you'd like to ask about the board, whether it's pedal settings or anything I've potentially missed in the video, because it does happen, leave a comment below and I'll try to do my best to answer it, or maybe make a second video. If you like the general content on the channel, then please subscribe as well. So not only do I do bass stuff, I do solo guitar stuff, and there's also teaching stuff I put up here and there. Yeah, subscribe, check it all out, and yeah, thanks very much once again. Take care.